talking a lot this week about the ongoing rebuild, reload, or return to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Got a little bit of a different angle on it to share with you today. Good morning to you. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. When Alex Nedeljkovic was traded to the Sharks 5 weeks ago, the Penguins got back a 2028 third-round pick, which is really not the kind of thing that's going to get anybody anywhere excited. And really, if you think back, even when Marcus Pettersson was traded to the Canucks and the Penguins got, for some reason, a first-rounder back, the response was mostly muted. Why? Because draft picks are not people, at least not yet. No kid anywhere has a poster on his or her wall that says, future draft pick on it. You know, it's got to be somebody you can appreciate, a human. And as such, in looking at the Penguins from top to bottom, and I mean from Sidney Crosby to the last child in a Finnish cave who happens to be their property, it would be easy and arguable, I should add, to say that this organization doesn't have the youth or the talent that it should. More specifically, the youth or the talent that's needed in order to take a significant step forward toward actual Stanley Cup contention. But let's go back to that Ned trade again. Ned brings a 2028 third rounder. The Penguins just completed a draft class unlike any they've ever had, certainly in the sense of volume, by getting 13 players. 3 of those were in the first round. First time that happened in Pittsburgh since the Mario Lemieux class, when Doug Bodger and Roger Belanger came along as well. So it's a 7-round draft. They got 13 guys, 3 of them in the first round. Now, add Ned and his pick into this, just in case you thought that particular parade was over with, and stick with me on this because it's worthwhile. In the 2026 draft, next summer, the Penguins will have a first-rounder, 3 second-rounders, and 2 third-rounders. 6 guys in the first 3 rounds. 2027, year after, another first-rounder, 2 second-rounders, and 3 third-rounders. 6 more players in the first 3 rounds. 2028, a first-rounder, a second-rounder, and 2 third-rounders now thanks to the Ned pick. In all, the Penguins will have 28 picks over those 3 years, including 16 of them in the first 3 rounds. My friends, that is your rebuild. That is it. That is the future of the Pittsburgh Penguins. These 13 picks, plus all of these future picks over the next 3 years. Now, those obviously haven't been executed yet, but they're sitting there. They're assets. Could they be traded? Sure, I guess, if something comes along and you decide, you're going to go for it in a given year because things are going better or faster than you'd anticipated. But I say that, and does anybody really envision a scenario in which Kyle Dubas looks at any of those first-round picks, and remember, he's got 1 each in 2026, 2027, and 2028, and says, yeah, it's time to start parting with those first-rounders again. I'm in the Jim Rutherford phase of my GM career. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I've talked a lot about the need for quantity to accompany the quality that comes out of the draft. Having all these picks doesn't matter if you're lousy at picking. Penguins got to be good at this. We'll see if they are or aren't. I can tell you that I like the Braden Yeager pick. I like the Rutger McGroarty trade for Yeager even better. And I really liked getting Harrison Brunick at number 44 overall. in the second round. But can they draft? You got to show that in Pittsburgh. I don't care how well you perform or how many people you impress at lower levels. You've got to get it done here. So we'll see on that front. But one way or another, you're going to have guys that you were dead certain about who aren't going to make it. And it won't even necessarily be your fault. So you've got to have a lot of them. They've done this. They've already accumulated these assets. They just aren't here yet. They just aren't in the system yet. How many do they need? What's the magic number? What's the percentage of the Pittsburgh roster that needs to be young and promising for everyone, but notably on the inside Dubas to say, hey, we're okay with the acquisition part. Let's really, kick some fanny here with the development, start winning in Wilkes-Barre in a meaningful way, and let that rise up. When does that happen? What is that number, that percentage? I don't have that answer, but I know that it's growing and it's already unusually high for any team, not just the Penguins, as it applies to this draft and the next three. When we come back, J1Q. Today's J1Q comes from Mike. Good stuff here, too. He says, in terms of trading Erik Karlsson for a left-handed defenseman with a similar cap hit, which was something that I brought up yesterday, Mike says, then we're talking about Darnell Nurse, a $9.25 million cap hit with a no-movement clause. Other left-handed defensemen on playoff teams that could be swapped with a retained Karlsson are Thomas Chabot in Ottawa, $8 million. He's got a partial no-trade clause. Morgan Riley with the Maple Leafs. Everybody knows about my no trades with Toronto rule. Let the losers migrate wherever it is that they migrate, not Pittsburgh. Make a big exception for Phil, but that's about it. Riley has a $7.5 million cap hit, no movement clause. Mike continues, the point that I'm making here is that the more that I analyze a potential Karlsson trade, the more I think it's just not going to happen. The 2023 trade in which the Penguins acquired him from San Jose was already a complicated one. I feel like the one now would be even more so and thus less likely, but you never know which GMs would come calling, I guess, right? You never know what's going to come up. I'm always bringing up Trevor Daley for Rob Scuderi. Still, I'm sorry, but for all time, one of the most stunning transactions you'll ever come across. So where you just say, they did what? For who? You have a tough contract to move here with Karlsson because it's not just for the coming year. It's for the following year as well. Maybe the way you want to do this, if you're Kyle Dubas, is say, listen, we have a pretty good sense that Karlsson's going to want to be at his best, being that it's an Olympic year, being that it's probably the last Olympics in which he'll participate. As we saw last season, once he started to have his status on the national team questioned, not coincidentally, his performance spiked in Pittsburgh in advance of Four Nations, and it kind of stayed a little bit high, if you want to be fair about him, the remainder of the season as well. So maybe you want him to max out in front of everybody's eyes, whether that's in Pittsburgh or whether that's in Italy. I do happen to be with you on this one, even though the Karlsson trade occurred 2 years ago yesterday, I believe. It's feeling like it's less likely with each passing day. I'd be remiss if I didn't also bring up, speaking of annual events, that today is Sidney Crosby's 38th birthday. He might have the easiest birthday ever to remember. That, of course, being 8/7/87. He's now 38 years old and still one of the world's top 10 players. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.